Hello, everyone. This is Mike Tomorrow. I want to welcome you to a presentation that I hope will inspire everyone to get out and enjoy this country and to get a mission done that I have always dreamed about doing. And the title of this is 24 in 24 Road Trip presented by Mike's Mission, which is an Uber Eats driver with autism trying to deliver Uber Eats in all 50 states. And I can't wait for all of you to join me on this journey. And right now we're going to talk about the presentation. So let's get going here. And that is myself. I am Mike Tomorrow. I've been an Uber Eats driver since January 4th, 2018. And I've delivered in 26 states plus Washington, D.C. so far. And that's why you got the title 24 in 24, in addition of me trying to get this done in 2024. Now, about myself. I am 39 years old. I live in Orlando, Florida. I'm originally from Agawam, Massachusetts. I've been an Uber Eats driver since January of 2018. I graduated in December 2010 with a bachelor's degree in liberal studies from Westfield State University. I am an autism self-advocate and an avid traveler. I was diagnosed with autism at the age of 22. I am a member of the Pioneer Valley Chapter 8 of North American Family Campers Association. I've been camping since I was 3 months old. I would travel on many trips with my parents in their RV since I was a young child, and I have driven in several long road trips since my very first one to do the Disney College Program in 2008. And I've been a podcaster since July 1st, 2022. Now, how was this idea born? The idea of doing traveling across the United States has always been a dream for me. And I bet you everyone has that dream that they want to travel across the country too. So, how am I going to achieve this? I work for Uber Eats, and actually, the idea came, I was researching, could I deliver Uber Eats out of my state? Well, the idea happened on May 30th, 2019. I was sitting at a red light in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I I decided, why don't I turn on the Uber Eats app just for giggles to see if I would get a request or whatever. So, within a few minutes, I got a delivery request in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And then I texted my dad saying, "Oh, I got a delivery request out of the state of Florida." You're wondering, why did I pick New Jersey to do my journey? You know? And it's like, here's the thing. I was sitting in red light in Cherry Hill, and I was like, I had plenty of time during the evening, that evening. So I was like, why don't I turn it on, see what I get? And I did a couple of deliveries, and you can see the restaurant in picture there, the Sushi King. That was the very first pickup that I had out of the state of Florida, and this got me thinking. Why don't I make this an idea that I can do this? And this is a wonderful concept. Now, before I did this delivery, I delivered in several cities in the state of Florida besides Orlando. And the cities I delivered in were Tampa, Key West, Miami, Fort Myers, Jacksonville, to name a few. So this me going to travel around the country or around the state actually to deliver is not a foreign concept, if you know what I mean. So, all right, the states I have done. You can see there are two maps on here. The first map is when I added the state to my resume, and you can see that you have Florida in orange. That's because of 2018. Then you have the states in red. That's 2019. Then you have the states in blue, which are 2020. And the states in green is 2021. Now, I also did a map of how many years did I deliver in each state. And this is pretty interesting too. Florida, I have delivered in 6 years. 6. And in 5 years, of course, you have to talk about New Jersey. But then you have New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Georgia, who made the list of 5 years in a row. Pretty impressive. Then, in the yellow, you have 4 years, which only cover South Carolina and Pennsylvania. 3 years, which is in blue, you have Delaware, Maryland, DC, Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Alabama. And then in green, you have the 1 year, and that's Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, West Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and New Mexico. Now, when did I first deliver it in all the states that I have done? Well, you can see the dates. They match up to the map that I just showed you. So this is a pretty good reference to when I have done deliveries in those states. Now, here is an interview with WGNO that I will play you.
Our very own Bill Wood delivers the good news. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Steph. Ready for some Uber Eats breakfast? Well, I've got just the guy who will not let any kind of roadblock, as you said, or a traffic tie-up, not even a New Orleans pothole is going to get in his way. His name is to deliver your dinner with his job from Uber Eats, and also to set a record across America.
biker are very
All right, so I have one more audio clip about the interview I want to play you.
And there he goes, already out and about in the New Year stuff, delivering. By the way, he used to work at Disney World, so you can see where he put to use that natural charm and charisma, delivering a smile to all of us, don't you think?
Oh, I just love him. And what a goal. He's well on his way, too.
He really is, over halfway there with his stop here in Louisiana. Loved delivering all those beignets and everything. Oh, so good. But he doesn't dare take a little taste test.
All right, can't do that. All right, thanks, Phil. Don't go anywhere.
All right, so the Chevy Equinox in the video belongs to my parents. And I went on a road trip with them back in 2021. And that's why you saw New Mexico, Texas, Louisiana on the map colored. And my parents own the RV in the video. Now, the interview was done on October 26, 2021 in New Orleans. The interview was aired on January 7th, 2022 on WGNO. Now, the story was also aired on the same day on WRIC in Richmond, Virginia. Now, here's a couple of clips I want to share with you, audio clips, about being mentioned on the RV Miles podcast.
Fresh Tank is a guy we met at the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta. His name's Mike DeMauro. Mike is a person who lives with autism and is an autism advocate, and specifically camping with autism and camping with disabilities. And he's a really great guy that has a Facebook group that you can find. We'll link to it in the show notes and in the description as well. It's called Mike's Mission, and you can follow his journey across the country. But Mike is, in addition to like speaking about autism advocacy and camping with disabilities wherever he goes, Mike is on a mission to deliver Uber Eats in every single state.
It's so cool.
Which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
So he is up to 26 states. He's in Louisiana right now, and he's been sharing pictures of getting all the beignets at all the different places. But he delivered Uber Eats in Louisiana, and I look forward to watching him try to travel to the rest of the state. He even plans on doing Alaska and Hawaii. He's going to fly to those and do those as well.
So cool. It was such a pleasure and such an honor to meet him, and because he came to our talk about RVing in national parks at the Balloon Fiesta, and it was so great to talk to him afterwards.
Yeah, so please make sure to go follow his Facebook page.
Absolutely.
We'll share it again in the show notes.
What a cool adventure he is on. All right.
Finally, a shout out to our friend Mike DeMauro, who was just featured on WGNO New Orleans. Mike is a full-time RVer and an adult living with autism and an advocate for people traveling with disabilities. His mission is to deliver Uber Eats in all 50 states, and Louisiana was his 26th. Halfway there. Way to go, Mike. Check out the Facebook page for Mike's mission. We'll link to it in the description. That's it for.
All right, so the podcast, the first one, was recorded and published on October 27, 2021. Now, the second one was published on January 10th, 2022, right after I did the interview, or right after the interview was aired. Now, I met Jason and Abby at the Balloon Fiesta in Albuquerque on October 7th, 2021, at the presentation for RV Life when they talked about the national parks.
Fresh
Now,
Tank is a guy
Finally,
we
a
met.
shout
now, here's my love for RVing and my involvement with RVing. And here's a clip. And yes, I am in this. So let's get going and let you watch and hear about it. All right, so you just saw my interview, and I am a member of Pioneer Valley Chapter 8 of the North American Family Campers Association, like I have said before, and they are the promoters of the annual Springfield RV Camping and Outdoor Show in West Springfield, Massachusetts, that happens every President's Day weekend. It is the largest show in New England, the largest RV show in New England, that is. So I highly recommend you guys checking that out because it is a show unlike any other RV show that there is. It is put on by campers for campers, you know, and it's all volunteers that put on the show each and every year. And then, in addition to my involvement with PBA and NAFCA and the camping show, I've also joined Handicapped Travel Club, which is an RVing group for people with disabilities. And I've been to a couple of their Zoom meetings so far, and I can tell you it's an incredible club to belong to. And I look forward to meeting some of these people and becoming friends with them. And then I also, speaking of RV shows, I also attend the Florida RV Super Show in Tampa each and every year in January. And that is the largest RV show in the country. So, I mean, yeah, no, I have pretty good involvement with camping. And I do love camping. I highly recommend it. And just being involved with camping makes it a good sense for me to be out there to travel, you know? So, all right. Next, I'm going to talk about my involvement with the special needs community, the disabilities community. I already spoke about how I'm just joined the Handicap Travel Club. Now, this is my involvement with the special needs community in Orlando and across the country and across the globe. All right, so you just saw the interview with me and heard the interview. And like I have said, I am a volunteer with Nathaniel's Hope, and it is a great organization. If you have not checked them out, I highly recommend that you do. NathanielsHope.org is their website. I am an autism self advocate. I am a former Autism Speaks volunteer advocacy ambassador from July 2017 to December 2022. The program was put on a temporary pause as of January 2023, but hoping to get that going again. And once that gets going again, be sure to know that most likely I'll be one of the ambassadors again. So it's not the end of my involvement as being a volunteer advocacy ambassador. And then I'm also a former walk committee member with the Autism Speak Central Florida Walk that is held yearly at Crane's Roost in Altamont Springs. And then I am an advisory board member for the L's for Autism at their complex in Jupiter, Florida, which is near West Palm Beach. And I also have a booth and I spoke at the yearly Family Cafe, which is a conference for people with all types of disabilities, all in one place, all in one weekend. And I highly recommend you checking that out and make sure that if you do check it out, maybe you'll be a vendor next year. And the benefit of me having a booth there is not only do I share my mission with the people, but I also have my talking points and telling the people about the mission. And I also do a presentation called Driving with Autism. So teaching people, well, give them the basic knowledge of how to drive and make sure that they feel comfortable to drive and everything else. Now, let's talk about this road trip. My parents are planning a cross country road trip in 2024, and my dad has set up an itinerary, and they have invited me to join them for part of the trip. My parents would be a part of a group of 2 to 4 RVs that would make the journey. Now, they would leave from Springfield, Massachusetts. I would leave from Orlando, Florida. I would meet them at like in Elkhart, Indiana. And we're going to get with that later on. But right now, I want to talk about more about this. My parents are retired. They have a motor coach and they are snowbirds. And if you don't know what a snowbird is, a snowbird is someone who goes down south during the winter and then comes back up north during the summer. Now, here's the thing. Their road trip plans are different from the one that I'm going to present to you because they wanted to stop at places that I didn't want to go or I was not interested in, and I have places that I want to go that they don't have on their plans and all that. So, I mean, yes and no, but I will meet up with them, spend time with them, yes, and get my mission done with them. But I also would need to have my own vehicle, and we're going to talk about that later on. Now, 2024 marks my 40th birthday. So this would be a perfect midlife project for me, And I want to tell you right now, I know a few people who have made it to 40 and unfortunately they have passed on or they have passed on before they turned 40. One of those people happened to be my cousin, Brian Gross, who passed away on February 7th, 2022, at the age of 40. And, I feel that his spirit is with me on this journey, this mission to try to get it done and try to be there, And I want to get this done because you never know when you're going to have an event going on where you're not going to be able to travel anymore. I don't want to wait until I get old to enjoy this country and to do this mission. I want to do it while I'm still young and still able to do it. And then here's why I did the 24 in 24 campaign. I have 24 states left now, and the next year is 2024. So wouldn't it be perfect to have the campaign called 24 in 24 to try to get my mission done? Hence the name of the presentation I'm doing right now. Does that make sense? I think it does. I hope you agree with me as we get along here. Now, you're questioning, where would I stay during this? When I'm with my parents, I would stay with them in their RV. When I am not with my parents, I would stay at an Airbnb, campgrounds, Wyndham brand hotels, and other places, and depending on sponsorship and everything else that we're going to talk about. Now, when I'm able to, and if I'm not with my parents, I would try to stay with my friends and family along the way if I am invited to stay with them while on this journey. Now, I would fly to Alaska, Hawaii, Colorado, and maybe Utah. And you're going to learn why I'm going to be flying to Colorado, or I would have to. And you know why I would have to fly up to Alaska. You definitely know why I have to fly to Hawaii. There is no way I can get to Hawaii by road. There is no road that connects the mainland to Hawaii. So, so you have to understand I would have to fly to Hawaii. And you're going to see further on in the presentation where I would fly out of to get to Hawaii and back. Same goes for Alaska And same goes for Colorado, Utah, and all that. So, all right. Now, here's the thing with media and social media. I would do a podcast along my journey. Now, as you may know, I currently have a podcast on Spotify called Mike's Mission Podcast Show. And you're guessing right now that I'm also recording this on the podcast so that we can have an audio version of this so that have if people cannot access the PowerPoint presentation for some reason, they can always listen to this podcast and be there. Now, I would publish a new episode each week along the trip and probably do a 24 and 24 segment every day, or maybe I'll do that as an episode. Like I'll do a new feature every day. And I would also do videos on my YouTube channel to keep you guys posted as well. I would have local media interview me to share my story across the nation, like what WGNO in New Orleans did for me. And, it would be a great idea to try to contact these local stations to see if they can help get my story out there. And I would also try to contact the national media, CBS News, NBC News, ABC News, Fox News, all the type of news that you need. Now, and then I will also try to get radio stations and newspapers, of course. Now, I would post daily on my Facebook page, on the Mike's Mission Facebook page, and on Mike's Mission Facebook group. All right, folks, if you're watching this, I'm just doing something real quick here. So, for my podcast, all right, welcome back, everyone. Sorry about the pause in that, but we're now going to focus on the meat of the presentation, which is the actual road trip. And the dates I have listed are the dates that I'm planning on going. And I based it off of my parents' itinerary, the itinerary that my dad had set up. So that's where I get some of the dates and all that and try to figure out what I want to see and what is on their plans and how to develop my plans from there and all of that. So without further ado, let's get into this wonderful road trip. All right, so days 1 and 2. We begin on July 12th, 2024, and drive 450 miles from Orlando, Florida to Montgomery, Alabama. Why did I pick Montgomery? I have not been to Montgomery yet. And it'd be pretty cool to check out Selma and some of the civil rights monuments and historical stuff that's in the Montgomery and Selma area. So I figured, why don't I just drive up and go there? And it's a perfect halfway point to Memphis too, which I'm going to do on the following day, day number 2, drive approximately 333 miles from Montgomery, Alabama to Memphis, Tennessee. Now, I heard that there's a lot of good stuff to do in Memphis, and I have never been to Memphis. So I'm like, why don't I do it? Now, you may notice on this presentation that I have stated when I added a state already, if I already added that state. So I added Georgia on June 15th, 2019, Alabama on July 30th, 2021, Mississippi on July 31st, 2021, Tennessee on June 14th, 2019. And it'd be cool to go see some of the sites in Memphis while I'm in Memphis. So, and I just want to point out this disclaimer. All these mileages that I have on here are approximate. They're not the total. So that's why you see the little symbol there for approximately on there. All right, so that's our first 2 days. This is the first day that we get to add a brand new state, and that is day number 3. That is on July 14th, 2024. I would drive 137 miles from Memphis to Little Rock, Arkansas. And we get to add Arkansas as state number 27 on our journey. And while I'm in Little Rock, I would like to take a trip over to see the Bill Clinton Library. So that's pretty cool. And I like presidents. So, I mean, I'd like to learn about the presidents and the history and all that. So you're going to see some of the presidential stuff on here. Now, day number 4, July 15th, 2024. I would drive 272 miles from Little Rock, Arkansas to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I would add Oklahoma as the 28th state. And you're going to figure out why I am doing Arkansas, Oklahoma, and then you'll figure out the route that I'm going and wonder why I'm planning Arkansas and Oklahoma before some of the other states and all that. Now, day number 5, July 16th, 2024. And you're also going to see this towards the end of my trip too. And you'll learn why on that. Now, I would drive 394 miles from Tulsa to St. Louis. And I would add Missouri as state number 29. And I would also visit the Gateway Arch. Now, my parents are also going to St. Louis. And that would be in 3 months from this. And I'm going to talk about that later on in the presentation. So if I don't get a chance to add Missouri on this portion of the trip, you're going to see another portion that I will have another chance at doing it. And potentially on the way over to St. Louis, depending if it's on the way, I would stop in Independence, Missouri and see Harry S. Truman's Presidential Library or whatever else that town is famous for. Now, we are on day number 6, another state that you're going to hear me talk about later on as well. And that is Illinois. Now, I would drive the 302 miles from St. Louis to Chicago. I would add Illinois as the 30th state. I would stop in Springfield, Illinois to visit Abraham Lincoln's house and gravesite. Wondering why? Is because I am a distant cousin of Abraham Lincoln, and Lincoln is one of my favorite presidents, so I'm like, I want to stop and see how Springfield is. And I want to stop and see the house and gravesite to pay my respects and thank President Lincoln for all he has done to serve this country. And while I'm in Chicago, I visit one of my former high school classmates, Kara Johnson, who lives in the Chicago area. And maybe check out some of the sights of Chicago while I'm there. Now, the next day, I would travel 112 miles from Chicago to Elkhart, Indiana. And this is where I'll meet up with my parents for the very first time. And we'll visit the RV and Motorhome Hall of Fame. And now, I've been here in 2019 to that, and I want to go to it again. And the RV Hall of Fame is Mecca for RVers and campers. You cannot live a life of being a camper without making sure you stop at the RV and Motorhome Hall of Fame. You got to stop there. Everyone's got to do it. It's on everyone's bucket list. And since I'm an RVer, and since this trip involves RVing, why not make that stop? So that's why I have it on this road trip. And I was debating whether to have it or not. But I'm like, you know what? I want to go again. Let's put it on there, see what we get. And I have a couple of friends that I used to work with at Disney World, Allie and Brad, who I would stop and see while I'm in Elkhart. And then, of course, meet up with my parents in their group. And I would be with my parents for maybe like 2 or 3 weeks on this part of the trip. So you'll see all the places we'll stop and go with them. And I already added Indiana as the seventh state on June 13th, 2019. Now, days 10 through 26, that's a little over 2 weeks, about 16 days, we'll be in Michigan. And we drive 250 miles to Traverse City, Michigan. And hopefully, while I'm in Traverse City, I will add Michigan as state number 31. Now, from there, on days 13 through 15, we get to drive 100 miles to Mackinac City, Michigan. And then, days 16 through 17, we go 100 miles to Whitefish Point, Michigan. Now, on days 18 through 19, we travel 105 miles to Grand Marseilles, Michigan. And then we drive 60 miles to Muncie, Michigan. Then we drive 45 miles to Marquette, Michigan. And then we drive 145 miles to Copper Harbor, Michigan. And I think there's a lot of lighthouses on that trip, so that's why you have a lot of stops. And then we're also going up into the UP of Michigan. And here's the thing I might want to do while I'm in Michigan. I might want to cross into St. Sault Marie in Michigan and go over to St. Sault Marie, Ontario, and see if Uber would work over there too. Just as a test. Don't know if we can deliver internationally, but it'd be pretty cool if I'm able to do that. So that might be part of my trip too. Now, we go from Michigan onto Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin on day 27. And we would add Wisconsin as the 32nd state. And we're going to be visiting Green Bay, Wisconsin while we're there. And of course, you know what's in Green Bay, right? The home of the legendary Green Bay Packers. Yes. So while we're in Green Bay, I definitely want to go see Lambeau Field and check that out. And you know me, I like football, so I'm like, this is legendary, and this is one of the first teams that played in the NFL. So, I mean, one of the oldest teams in the league. So this is something I would like to check out. From there, this is the first time I would separate from my parents. Now, I would drive 290 miles to Minneapolis. I would add Minnesota as the 33rd state, and I would go to Mall of America, visit there. Check out the largest mall in the country, potentially the largest mall in the world, if I'm not mistaken. And while I'm doing that, my parents and their group is going to be making a stop in Minnesota overnight, and then they're going up to Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota. Now, you're going to see on here that I'm not going to Theodore Roosevelt National Park with them, so I can add more states onto my resume. Now, day number 32, I am going from Minneapolis 235 miles to Fargo, North Dakota, where I would add North Dakota as state number 34. While I'm there, I'm going to visit North Dakota State University. You're going to wonder why I put that in there. I took an online course in the fall of 2010. So, with that being said, I want to check out where I had my class from. I'd never been to North Dakota, and I took the course online. So I'm like, why not check it out? And then I have one of my high school classmates, Cody Richardson, who lives in Fargo, who I would visit while I'm in North Dakota. So I hope to enjoy some peace at the Peace Garden State. Now, day number 33, we're going to be traveling 243 miles from Fargo to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I would add South Dakota as my 35th state for Uber Eats. So that is pretty cool to know that. Now, here's the interesting thing too. I am planning on meeting up with my mom and dad in South Dakota. And you're going to see when I do that later on. So there is a point where I'm going to meet up with them again. And then leave them again. And then meet up with them again. So, not this whole trip am I going to be with my parents. So I'll be traveling on my own on part of the trip. And then meeting up with them at another point. Alright, so day 34 for 36, I'll be adding 2 states to my thing, Nebraska and Iowa. Now, Nebraska, we get to travel 181 miles to Omaha. Now, since Council Bluffs, Iowa is only across the river, I'll add Iowa while I'm in Omaha. So I would go over the river and do some deliveries in Council Bluffs. And then I would add Nebraska and Iowa as my 36th and 37th states. Now, I would also go over to York, Nebraska, and visit with my fellow Autism Speaks volunteer advocacy ambassador, Dorothy Ackland, who is a very good autism self-advocate and is also a mother to 2 children. So, I learned a lot from her, and I do wanted to meet up with her. And I said, the next time I'm in Nebraska, I'll try to meet up with her. That's what I'm going to try to do. And then from York, I would travel to Llewellyn, Nebraska, where my Aunt Peg lives with her husband, Clint, and maybe spend a night or 2 over there and meet up with them in Llewellyn. Now, from Llewellyn, we're going to head 224 miles to Custer State Park, South Dakota. And that is where I'll meet up with my parents again. And I'll visit Sturgis, Mount Rushmore, meet up with my parents once again, and then I put it as a disclaimer, if South Dakota is not added on day 33, it will be added here. Because I think there is Uber Eats available in that area of South Dakota. Now, days 41 through 47, just about a week, we're going to be in Wyoming. So we'll drive from Custard to Casper, Wyoming. And that is where I'm going to add Wyoming as my 38th state. Now, the thing is, if I try doing it in Cody, if I try doing it in Yellowstone, Uber Eats is not available in those states as of yet. So that's why I'm going to leave my parents, stop in Casper for the night, and add Casper, Wyoming as my state when I do that. Whereas Cody and Yellowstone do not have Uber Eats available. I looked it up. I looked up every single place before I put it on my agenda of where I'm going so that I know where to go. I know which states to add, which states not to add, and all that. You know what I mean? But I am planning on adding Wyoming. I got to do in Casper. All right, from Yellowstone, we're going to take a trip up to Bozeman, Montana, and that's where I'm going to depart my parents at Yellowstone, actually. And this is where I'm going to add Montana as my 39th state. And I did look online, and Bozeman does have Uber Eats available, so I'm like, why not do it in Bozeman? And while I'm in Bozeman, they're going to the Grand Tetons. So I figured I'm going to stop in Bozeman, and then I'm going to go on and drive 366 miles to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And that will be state number 40. It's right off of I-90. It's in that very short part of Idaho on top of the state there. You know, if you're looking at the state, it looks like a guy driving. And on the top of his head, the hat part, that is the panhandle. That is where I'm going to add Idaho. And I looked up Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and they do have Uber Eats available, so I'll do that. Otherwise, I would have had to gone to Boise, Idaho, and that would have been out of the way. And I did look up right outside of Yellowstone, around in Idaho, and they don't have Uber Eats available. So that's why I added Idaho on this list here. Now, day 50, we are going to drive 311 miles to Seattle, Washington. Now, my parents and all them are going to make their way out to Seattle. Yes, they are. But I'm going to be there a couple of days early. And you're going to figure out why in a second. So I'm going to try to add Washington as the 41st state. But if not, I'm going to have another opportunity to do it when I get back from where I'm going next. Now, days 51 and 52, I'm going to fly up to either Anchorage or Fairbanks, Alaska. And I would add Alaska as the next state. And now, if I fly up to Anchorage, I want to go over to the Alaska State Fair in Palmer, which is outside of Anchorage and Wasilla. Now, if I fly up to Fairbanks, I want to stop at North Pole, Alaska. And yes, there is a town called North Pole, Alaska that is near Fairbanks, where you have Santa Claus house and the town decorated with all the Christmas stuff year round. Yes, there is a true North Pole, Alaska. So, and it is a pretty cool town. And I have been to Alaska before. That was back in 2015 before I started with Uber. So I'm like, it'd be cool to make a return trip up to the last frontier. Now, this is the opportunity that I would add Washington if I did not already add Washington. Day 53 through 58. Now, day 53 through 55 would be that opportunity because we're going to be in Seattle. And that's when I'm going to meet up with my parents and the group once again. And we're going to visit the Space Needle. We're going to visit Lumen Field, home to the Seattle Seahawks. And if, like I said, if Washington doesn't get added on day 50, it will be added during days 53 through 55 in Seattle. Now, days 56 through 58, we're driving 172 miles to Saquim, Washington. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, too. And while we're there, we're going to visit Olympia National Park. You know, but I don't think it's available. I don't think Uber Eats is available at Olympia National Park. So, unfortunately, Seattle's going to have to be the place I'm going to add Washington. Now, the next stop is Oregon. Now, here's the thing. Oregon, like Washington, basically you only have like one place where you can add Uber Eats. Now, my parents have another stop in Washington State. So I'm going to drive ahead and go to Portland, Oregon, and spend a couple of days in Portland. Days 59 through 60. I would go 214 miles to Portland, Oregon, and add Oregon as the 43rd state. Now, I already checked Waldport, Oregon, and I already checked Cotaquin, Oregon, to see if they had Uber Eats available, and they do not. So that's why I had to add Portland to that list. Now, from Portland, we're going to Waldport, Oregon. And then from Waldport, Oregon, we're going to Chiloquin, Oregon. And that is near where Crater Lake is. So, basically, yeah, I wanted to check out Crater Lake. It is a popular lake out west in Oregon. So I'm like, why not check it out? Now, from there, I would leave my parents. And it's going to be a little bit while before I get back with them. So basically, the next place, I'm going to be on my own. The next day, alone. Well, my parents are going to make a trip out to California. They're going to Lake Tahoe and then to Joshua Tree, and they're going to visit Yosemite and Sequoia and all those places. I'm like, and I checked it out to see if Uber was available in those places. I don't think it is. I think the only place might be Lake Tahoe. But anyways, I would drive from the Crater Lake, Oregon area to San Francisco, California, 380 miles, and try to add California as the 44th state. Now, like I've said, if I do not add it this time, there are going to be plenty of opportunities this time, however, to add California as a state for Uber Eats. And you're going to see coming up. Now, while I'm in San Francisco, I'll park the car at the airport and fly to either Honolulu or Kauai. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry. Kauai, Hawaii? I think it's on Maui, so. Because I saw the flights and they have a flight that goes there, so. And I checked out and they have the Uber Eats in that part of Hawaii too, so. And then I would add Hawaii as the 45th state. And then I would visit Pearl Harbor That's if I fly into Honolulu. I don't know if I would be able to visit Pearl Harbor if I visited the other place. And it'd be cool to check out Honolulu or any other place. It'd be cool to check out Hawaii and mark my family's first time going to Hawaii if that's the case. Well, I would go, you know. And I'm only spending a couple days in Hawaii. It's not a big trip, you know. I'm just there to do this mission and then come back, you know. But hopefully someday I'll go to a vacation in Hawaii and spend more time. All right, we are back on the mainland now, and we're going to San Francisco, flying back. Now, while in San Francisco, I would visit the headquarters for Uber and Uber Eats. That is where they're headquartered. So I'll maybe meet up with the people there, tell them about the mission. I have told them about the mission before, but the thing is, I have not received any response from it, so I'm hoping that this time we'll make it. And then we're going to visit the Golden Gate Bridge, that famous bridge, yep. And hopefully I'll get a chance to drive on it because it'd be pretty cool. Or get pictures of it, obviously. And then do the San Francisco bus tour, if there is any, to check out some of the famous sites in San Francisco. I know that the shots from the outside scenes of Full House was filmed in San Francisco, and be cool to check that out to see where the actual house from Full House is, and Fuller House. And that'd be pretty cool to see that. And then ride those cable cars as you probably saw in that show too. It'd be pretty cool to check those out too and take a ride on one of them. And then I would visit my fellow Autism Speaks Volunteer Advocacy Ambassador and fellow self advocate, Sadia Mahoney. So, yeah, I'd be happy to meet up with her and all that. And we'll figure out what else to do in San Francisco. Now, the next stop on this trip is the Bakersfield area and drive 324 miles to the Bakersfield area. And I'm sorry, Keisha, I'm not going to try to pronounce that town that you live in. But I am hoping to visit you while I'm in that area. So that's why I made that stop for you. And you've been very helpful on California planning. So can't wait to see you out in California after you have seen me numerous times in Florida. Be my turn to visit you in California. All right, from California, or from Bakersfield, excuse me, we get to make a trip down to Los Angeles. Yes. Now, my mom did say that the roads in LA are kind of tough and like why you want to go to LA and all that. You know, LA is a very busy and famous place. And any trip to California, you need to include Los Angeles in it. Now, I drive the 114 miles to Los Angeles and visit Disneyland and Disney's California Adventure, of course. As a former cast member of Disney World in Florida, and being a distant cousin of Walt Disney, it'd be pretty cool to see where all the magic started at Disneyland. And then check out some of the features in Disney's California Adventure that is not available at Walt Disney World in Florida. And I would also go to Knott's Berry Farm and hopefully meet up with Snoopy and Woodstock. I know that they have meet and greets there. So, and if you know me, you know that Snoopy is one of my favorite characters of all time. And I'm like him in every way. And then from there, we go on a Hollywood bus celebrity tour. Check out all the stars and all that. It's pretty cool. It'd be pretty cool to see that. Visit Hollywood, see the Hollywood sign, visit Beverly Hills, maybe do some Uber Eats while there and make some good, decent cash while I'm there too. But you never know. And hopefully I'll get to a chance to attend a game show taping or a TV show taping. I would like to go see Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune or one of those shows while I'm out in California, Los Angeles area. Well, I have seen Wheel of Fortune when they have taped episodes here in Orlando, but I have not seen them taped in Hollywood, Culver City. But I would love to go see Jeopardy. Maybe Price is Right if everything works out. You know, we'll see. All right, so day 76, and this is pretty cool. I am going to fly from either Los Angeles or San Diego to Denver, Colorado. And I would add Colorado as state number 46. You're going to see why later on, why I'm doing Colorado, flying out from California to Colorado. And I would spend the night in Denver and get that done. And then I put it as a note, flying to Denver from here instead of stopping later in Roadtrip, and you'll see why coming up on day number 94. Now, here's a significant fact about this, if this works out. 1876 was the date that Colorado became United States and the 38th state. And 1876 was the year. Now, this is day number 76 on the road trip. So, playing with numbers, and that's why we have the 76. So that's why it would make perfect sense to go to Denver on day 76. Now, we return to the Golden State of California for days 77, 78. And we get to take a trip to San Diego. And if I get a chance, maybe I'll check out Tijuana, Mexico. Leave the car in San Diego and go across the border through the footbridge or something. If it's safe or whatever. If it's not safe, I'm not going there. While I'm in the San Diego area, I want to visit Villa de Vecca, which is a group that I am involved with online on their virtual group. They actually have a center for people with disabilities, adults with autism, I think. And they're a pretty cool group of people, and they do activities like twice a week online. And I try to go as many of them as possible. So it'd be pretty cool to see them and check out their center. As you know, I'm an autism self-advocate, and I try to get involved with the autism community, so there you go, and I want to see them in person. So that's why they're on this list. From there, we're going to take a trip 313 miles to Lake Havasu, Arizona. And while on the way up, maybe I'll stop in Palm Springs as well. Now, here's the thing about Arizona. We have this stop, but we're going to have another opportunity to add Arizona later on too, just in case we don't add it in Lake Havasu. And I know the perfect place to do that, and we're going to talk about that later on. So this is the place actually where I'll meet up with Mom and Dad once again and their group. I know, what a long 2 weeks that was in California. Well, going to Hawaii and Colorado too. Now we meet up again in Arizona. Now from Lake Havasu, we're going to Nevada. And you see Utah in here too. Now, I have a little explanation about Utah when we talk about Nevada. So that's why you see the two flags there. Now, drive 80 miles to Las Vegas, Nevada. Add Nevada as state number 48. And visit casinos, visit the Las Vegas Strip, especially at night when it's all lit up. It'd be pretty cool to see that. Now, while I'm in Las Vegas, here's the thing. I would either drive 109 miles to St. George, Utah, or I would fly up to Salt Lake City, Utah for the day and rent a car and do Utah as the 49th state. So you have two choices there for Utah. And it'd be pretty cool to check that out. And we'll have to figure out which is probably the best option when we get to that point. Now, days 85 through 89, yes, we'll be in the Arizona. And we're going to take a trip over on days 85 through 87, 289 miles to the Grand Canyon and visit Grand Canyon. From there, on day 88, drive. This is where I'll leave my parents once again, probably for the last time on this trip. Drive 239 miles to Mesa. Mesa is an autism-friendly city, and I have met the person who works for the Mesa Chamber of Commerce, Allison Brooks. So visit Allison Brooks while I'm in Mesa. And she can help me out with hotel and all that while I'm in Mesa. And like I have said earlier, if Arizona is not added during Lake Havasu, then it will be added here in Mesa. And then from Mesa, the next day, drive 173 miles to Holbrook, Arizona. So, you know, and then we're going to go up, up, and away with our next stop. Yes, day 90 through 93. Drive 233 miles to Albuquerque, New Mexico to attend the 2024 Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. And you're wondering, I already added New Mexico as the 24th state back on October 4th, 2021, when I was up in Santa Fe. Now, I took a trip from Santa Fe to Albuquerque when we were out there, and I was able to do some deliveries in Albuquerque one of the days too. So that'd be pretty cool. Now, on here, I put this is a stop on my parents' itinerary, and I enjoyed going there with them in 2021. Now, you're wondering, why did I put this here, and I already been to New Mexico? The Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta is the best balloon festival in the world. And I really love this because you get to see all the balloons. And if you have not done this yet, it is highly recommended. So that is why Albuquerque is on this road trip. And it just lines up with the plans. Now, from Albuquerque, we're driving to Liberal, Kansas. And if Kansas is not added on this overnight stop, we'll have a chance to add it in our next stop of Kansas City. Now, I was looking online and seeing the distance between Albuquerque and Denver, and then Denver to Kansas City. Albuquerque to Denver is like 450 miles. Denver to Kansas City is like 618 miles. So that is why you saw me put Colorado as flying into Colorado from California and back. That's why you saw that on the thing. Because it doesn't make sense for me to go 450 miles to do Colorado and then 600 miles out on that same time. And I don't like driving over 500 miles in a day. And you're going to know why later on. I think 500 miles is the limit. of any trip here. Now, days 95 through 100, we're back in Missouri. And we drive 400 miles from Liberal, Kansas to Kansas City. And like I've said, if Kansas is not added back in Liberal, then it'll be added in Kansas City, Missouri. And then, like I said, if Missouri is not added on day number 5 back in July, it'll be added at this point too. And Kansas City is famous for barbecue. I think they have a barbecue tour and get to visit Arrowhead Stadium. Now, days 98 through 100, taking a trip 250 miles to St. Louis, visit the Gateway Arch, visit Busch Stadium. If Missouri's not added back in July, it'll be added that time. If Illinois is not added in July, it'll be added at that time too. Because Illinois is just across the river from St. Louis. I think East St. Louis is across the river, so get to add it that way. From there, we'll drive 300 miles to Park City, Kentucky, which is home to the Mammoth Caves in that area. And then you have the Corvette Museum. You also have Abraham Lincoln's birthplace. So that's pretty cool to see. Now, and then we'll spend 3 nights there. The next 3 nights, we're going to drive to Nashville, Tennessee, and get to spend 3 nights there too. And that's actually where I added Tennessee, was in Nashville, back on June 14th, 2019. And I also delivered there in 2021. Now, this is all part of my parents' agenda, so that's why you have this added on. Then we're going to drive 140 miles to Chattanooga, where we'll spend another 3 nights. Now, after Chattanooga, my recommendation is to go Warm Springs, Georgia, to see FDR's Little White House, and the Plains, Georgia, where Jimmy Carter is from, before heading back home to Orlando. Jimmy Carter would be 100 years old on October 1st, 2024, and it'd be a great way to celebrate it. So that's why I put that on the agenda, to go and see what type of decorations they have, what type of celebration they have, and all that. Even though we're going to miss his birthday early in the month of October of 2024, we'll make the effort to get there later on to celebrate his birthday and to check out his town. Now, planning to arrive back in Orlando on November 2nd, and that's a Saturday. I have told people before that I do not like arriving at home on a Friday, or I do not like leaving a vacation destination on a Friday to be home on a Saturday. Or no, I mean to be home on a Friday, excuse me. You know what I mean. It's not good to be home on a Friday, to arrive at home after being gone for so long. So, you know what I mean? All right, folks. If you're watching this, I'm just trying to get the podcast ready to go here, and that chapter is over. So, all right, and I guess save that. Just take a couple minutes. Breathe. That's the end of the road trip. Now, welcome back. So now we're going to talk about how many miles was that? If everything works out and planned it out, it'll be approximately 11,366 miles over 114 days. But of course, that mileage is only the mileage to and from the places. It's not where we go on day trips. It's not including where we go for deliveries. It's not including this or that. You know what I mean? So it doesn't include the flight to Anchorage. It does not include the flight to Honolulu. It does not include the flight to Denver. So that is why. But it is included for the trip from Las Vegas to St. George, Utah, and back. So that's where I came up with that for that. Now, after this trip, I would go to RV shows, the Florida RV Super Show, Springfield RV Camping and Outdoor Show, and tell my story to the people to get them to go out there and enjoy this country. Go camping, go RVing, to enjoy what we have in this wonderful country of ours. And in addition to the RV community, I would also go into the autism and disabilities community, hopefully go to conferences across the country and events like Family Cafe, Nathaniel's Hope, Make 'em Smile Walk, and tell my story to the people there. So try to get those people, try to convince people that, hey, check out this wonderful land. And if I can do it, so can you. If you can dream it, so can you. And I know that I do want to become a social media influencer across the United States and the world. And hopefully I'll have a meet and greet at the Florida RV Super Show. Definitely 2024 I would like to have one. Maybe 2025 I would like to have one as well. And we'll go from there. Now, how can this be successful? And this is where I'm going to need your help on this. I currently drive a 2015 Kia Soul. It would be nice if I could get a newer vehicle, because I'm not sure if my car is going to last that long to take that trip. And if I got a newer vehicle, it would be very nice for me to have. And, and if it's an organization or a corporation that sponsors this trip, you could have I could have the vehicle wrapped around your organization as a sponsor on it, and it'd be pretty cool to have that. So going across the country, seeing your sponsorship on as the wrap around my vehicle, that'd be pretty cool too. Now, the vehicle I'm looking at getting is like one of the Ford Transit vans or one of those newer vans that have good gas mileage. Now, you see the picture here. That is a Winnebago Rome trailer, a motorhome, or a camper van, and it has a handicap lift on it. The only reason why I want to have a handicap accessible RV is because I also have a mobility scooter. So, and I would need to put that in there. Now I'm hoping to get a newer mobility scooter, maybe like one that folds up easily and all that, and maybe lighter to carry on and allow me to go to the airplane and all that, board it with it. Now, if you become a sponsor of this road trip, you and your organization would be mentioned on my Spotify podcasts and YouTube videos. So you are able to help me get this vehicle for me. If you are able to help me get the funds, the gas money, the hotels, and all that to help me out with this, I'll be forever grateful and thankful for you that I will mention you on my podcast as a sponsor. And of course, if you get the vehicle, of course, willing to sponsor it, willing to have the wrap around the vehicle with your sponsorship. So that'd be pretty cool. And if I were to get a camper van, it would also help me out because let's say I can't find a hotel for the night, then this way I could have a bed in the camper van for me to sleep in for the night. or something like that. So that's why I'm aiming for a camping van that's handicap accessible and that I can use. So, you know, but we'll work on that if you choose to sponsor my trip here. Now, here are some FAQs, some questions that are asked. Why would I go to Arkansas and Oklahoma before Illinois and Michigan? As you can see, yes, I do go west to Arkansas and then Oklahoma. And then I travel east to Missouri, Illinois, Michigan, all that. I do that because the thing is, I'm trying to set it up whereas it is within my parents' itinerary. And the thing is also, I did apply for a conference in Michigan in October of 2023, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to go up to Kalamazoo for the conference, but if I am able to, then I wouldn't have to worry about it. But this trip is based on if I'm able to make it or not, or if I'm been selected. Or if I'm not been selected, excuse me. So I wanted to make sure I have a backup plan to the plan. That's why you got to plan this stuff out and with plenty of time. Now, here's an interesting question. Would I deliver in states that I have delivered in before? The answer to that is yes, because, I'm going to need to have money, make a little extra money while driving, you know? So, and I have delivered in states that I have delivered in before, as you can tell from the maps that I posted on the early part of the presentation. Now, why does the mission mean so much to me? This is a very hard question. The mission means so much to me because I have been trying to do a project that would allow me to go to all 50 states. And it's been a childhood dream of mine. And since I discovered doing Uber Eats in different states, it means a lot to me if I can get it done and be like, hey, if he can do it, you can do it. And, I'd be so proud of this achievement if I'm able to get Uber Eats done in all 50 states. I'm only up to 26 in DC. And 50 states would be an honor. And I would share that story for the rest of my life if I'm able to do Uber Eats deliveries in all 50 states. Tell the people that I am an adult with autism that drove across this country and do it. Not a lot of people with autism can drive an automobile. So to prove to people that someone with autism can go out there and drive across the country and do this project, that would be something that I want to show the world that people with autism can drive and prove to them that we can be successful too. Even though we have a disability, I know some people say we're not disabled. We are to an extent. So, and prove to people that if you put your dreams to it, you can do anything that you want to get done. So that is my answer to that question. The next question is, who, besides my parents, inspired me to do this trip? Well, there are quite a few people that inspired me, but in particular, there are two people. First is a DJ from Sirius XM 60s Gold. His name is Flash Phelps. He has been to all 50 states numerous number of times. He has a program on 60 Gold every Monday through Friday morning. And he would do City of the Day, and he would talk about his adventures going around the country and all that. So, I mean, that is something that inspires me to think, why don't I go across the country too and go to every single state? You know, the next person I felt that I got inspired by was Janine Stang. She is the national anthem girl. She did a similar thing to what I have done here, or trying to get done. She has a goal, or she has achieved this goal, of singing the national anthem in all 50 states, plus Washington, D.C. She has done it. And she also has a documentary on Amazon Prime that you need to check out. Just type in National Anthem Girl, you'll find it. And you can see how she did her trip and how she planned her trip and the success of how it's been done and everything else. You know, so that would be pretty cool if I can do that. And then, of course, there has been other people that have inspired me. A lot of RVers, a lot of full-time RVers have inspired me, and a lot of others people. So, but I mean, the two that particularly did for me, Flash Phelps and Janine Stang. And if either of them are watching or listening, I thank them so much for what they have done to make me feel inspired. Now, how many days would I drive on a travel day? Here's the thing. Like I've said before, I would only drive about 500 miles a day, maximum. Because here's the thing. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what could happen on the road if you feel tired or whatever. And plus, I got to arrive at the city at some point in the evening time so I can do the deliveries in that city or in that state so I can add them. You know, it's hard for me if I were to travel, like if I left somewhere, you know, and then arrive late at night where I can't do it, that'd be hard. So that's why I try to limit myself to less than 500 miles a day. You're going to wonder the next question. Why did I mention people's names on this presentation? I mention their names because I have a personal connection with them. I have known them. I've worked with some of them are family, some of them are friends, some of them I went to high school with, some of them I've been Autism Speaks volunteer advocacy ambassadors with, some of them are autism self advocates. These are people I have known personally that I have wanted to visit and see while on the road. And some of these people I have promised that the next time I'm in their area or or when I'm in the area I would meet up with them. So that's why you see the people's names listed on each of the slides that I've done. So now, on which days would I be with my parents and their group? That, well, there's going to be quite a bit of this trip. I'm going to be with my parents. So, but there is going to be portions of it where I'm not going to be with them. I know that starting out from Orlando to Elkhart, I'm not going to be with them. I know that after we do Wisconsin, I'm not going to be with them again until get up to Custer State Park in South Dakota. Then I'm not going to be with them for a night when I go to Cody, or go to Casper, Wyoming before I go to Cody. Then from Yellowstone until Seattle, and including the portion there where I fly up to Alaska. And then there's going to be a couple of days where they still do Washington State, where I'm going to travel to Portland, Oregon, and then most, if not all, of California. I would not be with them. And that's when I fly out to Hawaii and Colorado. And then I'd be with them for Arizona and Nevada. And then I would not be with them when I do Utah. And then Arizona, I would do Grand Canyon with them. And then I would leave for a day and head down to Mesa and then over to Holbrook and meet up with them. And then I would be with them from Holbrook onward. So that's where we get that's where and all that. Now, so those are pretty quick questions. And if you do have any other questions you want to know, let me know. I'll have my contact information towards the end of this presentation, so you can get to know about me and all that. If I haven't answered your question and all that. So if you're looking at sponsorship and all that, why you're wanting to sponsor me, then you can figure it out for there. Now, this quote by Malcolm Forbes is something that I love to share with all of you. It was done at a presentation at the Florida RV Super Show, and it was done at a presentation that was presented by Bob Marks. And I haven't seen him for a while, but this is a quote that he has said that was by Malcolm Forbes. And I tried getting the quote in words, but I couldn't. So I was able to find a recording of it from Bob, and that's where I got it from. So here we go. Hope you enjoy it.
The trip you can enjoy today because of the person you are may be a frustratingly unhappy one tomorrow because of the person you have become in the meantime. Go as soon as you can, as far as you can, for as long as you can. That was written by Malcolm Forbes.
So he's a snowbird from Wisconsin. Now, you can learn more about the mission if you scan the QR code, or if you can't scan the QR code, just go on to linktree.com/Mike Demaro, and you can find more information. I'll have all the links there of everything, including all the news stories. So if you're not able to hear it through the presentation here, or if you're watching on YouTube and you can't see the videos I have included, they are on my linktree.com link. So you can check it out there. And this presentation will be on Linktree as well. So if you have any other questions, you can find my contact information there. And of course, I have my contact information here. So I do look forward to working with you guys. I do look forward to having you guys pay attention to my podcast and learn about it and have a great time knowing about it. You know, this is something that I have been planning for a very long time now, and something that I want to get done. And with your help and your support, we can get this done. It's just we need the sponsorship to get this done. So if you are a company that's willing to help out, please let me know, because I really want to get this done. This is 24 in 24. It's meant to be done in 2024. 24 states left to go. 2024 is the year. Come on. You know? So, there's my name, there's my address, there's my phone number, there's my email, there's my website, and that picture right there on my slideshow, That's from my hometown exit in Massachusetts. And we're going to have to get off the exit right now, or we're going to have to get off the presentation. So I hope that you enjoyed this. Please share it with all your friends and family. Please share it with your organizations, your workplaces. Please share it with everybody so we can make a difference. We can get the money raised. We can get the sponsorship. We can get the investments to get this done, to make people in the autism community, the RV community, the Uber Eats community, every single community proud of me, and get this as an inspirational story out to the people. And if you want to contact me for interviews for TV or radio or newspapers, whatever, websites, podcasts, let me know. I want to be a part of your podcast and all that so that we can make a difference. We can spread awareness and we can get going. And I hope to look forward to meeting you guys on the road. If you guys do see me on the road, please feel free to see me. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope to work with you in the future.